What's up, my beautiful family? It's your girl, Dr. Shonna, and it is time for Mental Health Fridays. So, I promised you guys we was going to come on and we were going to talk about the butterfly effect and chaos theory, and I was going to tie it into some of the crap that's going on today, and for us to really start to pay attention to how this stuff is showing up in our life, how it's showing up in our community, and pay attention to the little changes because we might be ignoring the little changes, but it's the little changes that's going to make the biggest difference in history as it continues to develop. So we're going to have a really, really, really good conversation about what we should be paying attention to in our community, what we should be acknowledging in our community. So we're going to have a really good conversation. Before we get started, family, I'm going to need you guys to do just a couple of things for me. If you are on YouTube, I'm going to need you to subscribe to the channel. I need to see those subscriptions going up because you already know channels like this. This is our Black media. We are shadow boxed and they do not let you guys know for the most part when we are going live. So I need you guys to go ahead and share the video. There has to be interaction here. Hit the subscribe button. The little bell that comes up, hit the top bell to include all notifications. So when I'm coming on live, you are notified. Give the video thumbs up. Or to my 6 to 12 haters, go ahead and give the video a thumbs down. Go ahead and share the video. This is Mental Health Fridays. So it ain't going to be no nasty talk today. What's up, Sid? How you doing? Now, y'all know, family, sometimes I get a little bit out of hand. But today, I think I'm going to be good. I think I'm going to be good. But this is going to be an educational video. So you guys have to have your pen and paper. If you're on Facebook, what I need for you guys on my Facebook community, I need you to share the video. Give the videos thumbs up, hearts, emojis, whatever the case is. Leave some comments. Like and follow the page on Facebook. Have your pen and paper because we are a family of critical thinkers. We look at things from all angles and we try to make sense of it. And if we're going to get better at this so-called game called chess that you call life, if we're going to get better at the so-called game of chess, which requires strategic thinking, which requires critical decision making, we have to really get an understanding of what we're dealing with. And so that's what today's topic is really going to be about. It's not going to be so much focus on any illnesses per se. I know this is Mental Health Fridays, but I promised you guys in the last conversation I was going to come back and I was going to break down the butterfly effect and I was going to break down chaos theory and I was going to make it applicable to what we are experiencing right now in our community. So I hope you guys are with me. Let's go ahead without further ado. Let's go ahead. First of all, I think it's only right that before I get started, I speak about chaos theory and the founder of that term, chaos theory or the butterfly effect, whatever the case is. I'm going to take you guys back briefly to Edward Lorenz. I know we can care less about Edward Lorenz, right? He was a meteorologist. We don't care too much about him, but it's important for us to know that he was the one who coined this term. So Edward Lorenz was a meteorologist who was putting in formulas and he was going on his little break, so the story is told, and the formula required 6 digits. Maybe the digits are 506127. And he plugged in 0.506 into the equation as opposed to 0.506127. He went on break, and when he came back, only thing he saw was complete chaos. So the theory is a difference of a fraction. He left off the last 3 digits. It was supposed to be 0.506127. He left off the 127. The theory is a difference in a fraction made a whole change to the entire system. So chaos theory, you guys are with me? I hope you're with me. Chaos theory speaks about chaotic systems and is believed that these chaotic systems operate randomly. I'm going somewhere with this. I just need y'all to follow me. I'm giving y'all education so you can understand chaos theory and the butterfly effect. So when I start applying it to our community, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The systems that get changed from small little fractions of changes are not actually random, but instead they are unpredictable, meaning if something small, there's a small little change in the system, it can throw off the whole entire system, and then it can present as unpredictable, meaning we don't know what's going to happen because we can no longer calculate it. Hope you guys are following me. But in this chaos, there is an actual order that is happening. It just changed the way things are happening. And what's occurring is that there are tiny influences that happen within the outside environment that's throwing the system off, hence the butterfly effect. So now it's not really what the message is out there about the butterfly, which the statement is, if a butterfly is flapping its wings in Brazil, it can cause a tornado to happen in Texas, right? We know that that's not true. But what it's basically saying is something as small as a butterfly can throw off in a whole entire system, right? So let's go ahead and start thinking about systems in which I'm going to discuss, right, briefly in our video today, in our lesson today. I know the meteorologist is a scientist, and he's talking about weather patterns. He's talking about changes in weather, hurricanes, tsunamis, tornadoes, whatever the case is. But now I want you to think about systems in terms of the government, in terms of medical or health systems, in terms of educational systems, communities of people like us. We are a community, whether we act like it or not. We're a community. We're a system. Systemic racism, systemic oppression, economic systems. I want you guys to get all of that in your brain for a second, because we are a community of critical thinkers. So I know that we can follow that for a second. So let me just wrap this in again before I go on. The theory, chaos theory, is talking about a small little change. A fraction of change can throw off a whole entire system. And even though that theory was created for like the weather per se, that theory can also be explored in social sciences, like what I do, right? It can also be explored in social sciences and other ways for us to understand human behavior, for us to understand the events that has happened in society, for us to get a better picture about where we are today, why we are where we are today, and where we might be going. Now, I know some of y'all, let me say this to y'all, because I know some of y'all get excited, but I want to slow down your excitement for just a moment. I know some of y'all think we are on the right track, because some of y'all, not all, some of you guys are not considering where we started and where we are today. See, for many of us, we think we are in the middle of something new. Am I wrong? Y'all let me know. We think that we are in the middle of something new, something big, a change in history. We hear things like you want to be on the right side of history. We think that we are contributing to the right side of history that we want to see. For some of us, the right side of history is having a raceless society. Come on, let's not pretend like all of us are on the same wavelength. We're not all on the same frequency. So let's just be honest. Some of us are envisioning a raceless society, right? Some of us are fighting for our rights, our civil rights, voting rights. Some of us want to be able to acquire things that other people have acquired. We're all doing something different, but nonetheless, we're not doing anything new. We think that we're doing something new, but there are small little changes that are happening right now that I need for us family to pay attention to. And I'm going to break that down in this video. I need us to pay attention to certain things that are happening right now. Take our mind of what we think we're creating. Some of us think we're creating a raceless society, right? Take your mind off just a moment of that and look at all the small little butterfly effects that are happening, all the little changes in a greater system that is happening that's going to cause a lot of confusion in the upcoming years. Now, y'all going to hear it from me today, right? Y'all going to hear from me today because I don't think y'all all getting it. I've been sitting back, I've been watching, I've been reading from the beginning, from the 1500s, all the way up. And when I say the beginning, I'm talking about here in America, from the 1500s all the way up to right now. And I'm seeing some changes that many of us are ignoring. Not all of us, but many of us are ignoring. You got to understand that systems, family, they have rules that are to be followed rigidly. Now, let me say it to you guys a little bit different, because America, I know this is Mental Health Fridays, but it's all gonna tie in. Y'all just bear with me. America is a system in and of itself, and it was a system originally founded on economics, right? It originally was founded on economics. How can we make more money, do more things, be greater? It was an economic system that had certain rules that they set up that had to be followed. We had to have free labor or dirt cheap labor in order for this system to work. In order for our vision to come to life, there are certain things that had to be in place in order for it to follow, in order for it to work out, in order for the goals of this country to be accomplished. What they didn't account for were tiny changes to that system will affect the whole entire system. They shifted from economics to race. Follow me, family. Follow me, family. They shifted from, not that economics ever went away. Like, remember I said, tiny changes. They needed to make a tiny change in order for them to accomplish their long-term goal. And the tiny change, tiny for them, not tiny for us. The tiny change was, let's change the way we do things. Let's make it that we are superior, and the people who don't look like us are inferior, and we remove rights from them. So they're no longer indentured. They're no longer indentured servants in America working off their time so they can get free. We're going to change that. These populations of people, enslaved Africans, you're not going to get free because you are inferior. This is something they made up. Something they made, a little tiny change. They made it up. You are inferior. Right? And so when you think about the initial founder of this phrase, chaos theory or the butterfly effect, he basically stated that sensitive dependence, sensitive things that happen depends on the initial conditions. The initial conditions in America was, this was a land where people was going to come, they was going to serve off their time, they was going to work, toil the land, work off their time, they was going to be free, and you was going to be entitled to liberty, freedom, the pursuit of happiness. This is before the Declaration was ever came into place, right? You was going to get all these things. They made a little switch, a little change. We changed our mind. You're not going to get these things. These people, these little enslaved Africans, are not going to get these things. I'm going to take that away, make you guys enslaved. You're not free to go. You're not going to get it. But what they didn't know, that there were certain things in life that was going to be later developed into history that they, were not going to be able to predict. I don't think they ever predicted things that happen how they're happening now, right? That little change. They never thought that was going to happen. They was never able to predict it. They wasn't in a position to predict it, A. And B, I don't think they knew that that small little change would eventually throw off the whole entire system. So I'm taking you guys back for a reason. I'm taking you guys back for a reason. Somebody said it's almost like they're rebranding. Political Lil said that, right? Taking you guys back. In all reality, it is our job as a community to try to find some order in the chaos. We got to find some order in the chaos. This chaos theory can be applied to so many different disciplines, right? Including social sciences, the field that I'm in. And that's what I did. I said, let me look at chaos theory. Let me apply it to history to see what small little changes happen so I can try to make sense of what is happening today. I know I'm not going to be able to predict tomorrow because when you have those little changes, the outcome is very unpredictable. But we can sort of pay attention to what is happening by studying history. You guys all know this, right? You guys all know this. So let's start looking at the Black community, our community. Let's start looking at the uprisings in our community, right? So we can understand the chaos that we're in. So I'm going to take you guys back before the Civil War, because I know a lot of people, they start to analyze at the Civil War. And they look at the Civil War being symbolic of the change that got us to where we are today. This is what a lot of people would tell you. That's absolutely incorrect. So we're going to use chaos theory, and we're going to use the butterfly effect to understand what we are experiencing today as a community. I need us to go back before the Civil War. I need us to go to the time 1500s. I'm going to take it to the 1500s, and I'm not going to go all the way through it, but I'm going to read some things off to you guys because I want you to know what was really happening. We have 1522, which was the very first, you hear what I'm saying? It was the very first rebellion that happened in Dominican Republic. It was called Hispaniola before. Now it's Dominican Republic. It was the very first rebellion. Okay? Before there was a Nat Turner, it was 1522. Then in 1663, in Virginia, there was a plot to fight against slavery between white and Black indentured servants who decided we're going to fight against our enslavement, well, the enslavement of Africans. We're going to fight against that. That happened in 1663 in Virginia. Now, I'm giving you all these small little things because, see, people don't really tell you this in history. This is not hidden. You just need to do research and you can find it. But this all makes a difference in where we are today. So that's what I'm asking you guys to just bear with me and let's go along with the process. Then you go to 1739, which was the Stono Rebellion, led by Jimmy. His name was Jimmy, Jemmy. And of course, this Negro was betrayed by Negro, and that's when that rebellion was brought down. It was stopped because, of course, a little ninja betrayed him. That ended. In 1741, there was the New York City conspiracy. And that was led by a cluster of different ethnic people from different areas of Africa. It was other mulattoes. There were different people, different indentured servants. They all got together and they was planning an uprising as well. And of course, a Negro betrayed the movement. They got caught, brought down, people are killed. Then we're going to go on to Gabriel's conspiracy of 1800. Now, you see what I'm talking about when I talk about all these little uprisings, these little acts of insurgency, like these little things that's starting to happen, these little acts of rebellion that's coming up. Small little acts, small little changes to the system. That's what I'm pointing out here, family. I'm not taking you guys through a history lesson. I'm pointing out small little changes to stay in alignment with the butterfly effect, to stay in alignment with chaos theory. I want you guys to pay attention to it, because that's the only way you're going to be caught up with what I'm about to talk about, right? So then you have Gabriel's conspiracy of 1800. And that was led by Gabriel, but it never happened. The rebellion never happened. Why? Because Gabriel was betrayed by a Negro. I'm not finished. Then we go on to the German Coast Uprising of 1811. And that was led by Charles Deslones, or whatever, however you pronounce his name, who was a mulatto slave. And the mistake that Charles made was when he went to go kill the slave master and his family, a mistake was made that allowed the slave master to get away. So he escaped the killing. They went on to kill other people, but because of that, after they ran out of ammunition, their revolt was brought down and it was ended. Then you have Nat Turner's rebellion of 1831. So I know a lot of people. Dessalines Rose was in Haiti. We're not talking about Haiti. We're talking about right here in America. I see a lot of people talking about Haiti, and that's cool. That's cool. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Like people like Gabriel, the German Coast Uprising, and Nat Turner. Of course, they heard about what happened in Haiti and it was influenced, but I'm talking about right here in America. See, a lot of people know about the Haiti revolt. They know about Nat Turner. But what they don't realize, that I'm going to give you guys a little snippet. There were so many small little uprisings before 1804 ever happened. There were so many small uprisings before Nat Turner even happened. You got to understand how the butterfly effect works, how chaos theory is showing up in this in and of itself. Before there was an 1804. Before there was an 1804, there was a 1522. You follow what I'm saying, family? You follow what I'm saying? So you had Nat Turner, and he has his rebellion. Slayed a whole bunch of them. Took them to hell. Gave them first-class flights to hell. Beautiful, right? But guess what happened? He was betrayed by what? A Negro. A Negro. See, a lot of y'all think Tim Scott is new, right? Before there was a Tim Scott, there was a Negro betraying a Negro when it came to getting freedom, right? You see, y'all got to understand how all this shit happens. Got to understand how it happens. So then after the 1831, all these small little changes, what do you think all these things eventually led to? Another change in the system. Can y'all tell me? What do you think these little things led to? All these little insurrections, all these little rebellions. Of course, Masali, they always brought down by us. Right? I want y'all to tell me. What do you think this led to? Come on, y'all family. Come on. This is not a history class. Y'all got to really follow this because you got to understand what's happening here. We can't just be mad today. We can't wake up today and be mad at everything. You got to be able to look at everything so you can know how you're going to move going forward. So you can know who the hell are the ninjas in your community you need to get rid of. Right? So nobody knows, but I'm going to tell you, it's okay. Y'all don't know, cool, no problem. Here's what happened. Now you have the system. Remember what I said. The original system was an economic system. Are you following me? The original system was an economic system. And it was all these small, little, tiny little changes that's causing bigger effects to happen. The first change was, oh no, you're not an indentured servant anymore. You're going to be enslaved. And you have no rights. And now you're going to work for free. You're not going to work off your enslavement time. You're not going to get free after 7 years, like the indentured servants from Ireland or Italy or whatever, they can work off their time and then they'll be free. You're not going to work off your time. You're going to be tied down. So then a whole bunch of different Africans at different levels, at different times in Earth said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fight. So all these little changes, all these little fights that came up, it led to what? The preliminary emancipation. SC says not being able to vote. Not yet. You're jumping it. Thank you for that donation, Sid. He said, I see you going with it, Doc. You know, I'm trying to. I need people to see what's happening here. So now you have these preliminary emancipation. Before the slave coast, Chelsea, you're jumping. You got to go back. See, we only know what's popular. We only know what's popular, what everyone is talking about, what everyone's fighting. That's why I behoove all of you, ladies and gentlemen, to study, to know your history, so you can know what's going on, so that you are not emotionally moved by people and all the stuff that they're sharing, that you get so angry and you think you learned something new. You might learn something, but before you even got the information that you received, you have to go back to the beginning before that even happened. So let's go to the preliminary emancipation. Now that was in 1862. So y'all all know the Emancipation Proclamation occurred in what year? Yes, Rose, but you're jumping, Rose. Rose says, okay, let me put Rose's thing up here. Rose says, okay, so those revolts led to the Civil War. Yes, but you're jumping because it's something you have to notice before the Civil War, right? So you can know where you are today. But thank you for that, Rose. Thank you for that. I just asked you guys a question. What year was the Emancipation Proclamation? Thank you, Fly 9568. 1865. Because this is what we're all taught, right? This is what we're all taught in school. 1865 was the Emancipation Proclamation. But did you know that in 1862, y'all heard what I said, 1862, there was a preliminary emancipation where only the African Americans that were enslaved who were able to enlist, right? So the enlistment of African American soldiers happened in 1862. They made it legal for African Americans to enlist as soldiers. And then 1863, very good, Black transcendence. 1863 is the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. So in 1862, small little change. See, we always think that something is good happening. Oh, this is what they did. No, they know what's happening ahead of time. The only thing they cannot do is predict the chaos that's going to follow because of it. They may have an idea of some of the chaos, but they cannot predict all of it. So in 1862, they made it legal for African American soldiers to enlist for war. 1863, they only allowed those who was going to fight in conjunction with the Union, which is the North. They only allowed those to be free. Are you following me? Are you following me? In 1863, they only allow a small select few, not 4 million enslaved Africans. They only allow a small select few to be free. Because these were the people that were engaged in rebellion against the Union, right? So they're like, okay, if we can if we can allow them to enlist, then we're just going to free those who's going to fight. We have some numbers here that's going to help us. They didn't initially free 4 million enslaved Africans. Initially, it was a military measure. Initially, that's all it was. And then for some reason, for whatever reason, Lincoln's view shifted from preserving the Union to ending slavery. It didn't start that way. He had no intentions of getting involved with slavery whatsoever. Small little shifts in the system. Remember what I said? Chaos theory. Small little shifts. That shifted the nation's whole course, where he went from fighting to preserve the Union to fighting to end slavery. It shifted everything. But keep in mind, the emancipation was symbolic. At the start, it was symbolic. And in some aspects in our community, in our experience, in our world, it still is symbolic. Because some of us may be physically free, born free, but we're still enslaved. We're still fighting for the same freedoms and the same rights. When I think about 1842, around that time, when Frederick Douglass gets on the scene, around that time. In 1842, Frederick Douglass was fighting for voting rights. 1965, we're breaking grounds on voting rights, the Civil Rights Act, like it was brand spanking new. But it wasn't. Right? You understand what I'm trying to say? We've been fighting for our freedom and fighting for our rights for a very long time. For a very long time. You got 1844, Sojourner Truth steps on the scene. And I don't want to ignore what anyone else has been doing, because there's going to be so many names that I'm going to miss. And I'm not going to call out in this broadcast because our population, our history, our people is so vast. We've done so many great things. 1866 is when your Civil Rights Act first comes on the scene. 1866, not 1965, because you have a lot of folks who are saying, our ancestors died. They marched on Selma. They died for your right to vote. Where in fact, Frederick Douglass and people in his era has been fighting for our right to vote. So it's not, the death didn't happen in the 1960s. We've been fighting this fight since the so-called Proclamation of Emancipation. We've been fighting this fight for a very long time. 1866 is when the Civil Rights Act was first enacted. 1866. 1866. So some people might say, well, what's the point? What's the point here, Doc? Let's get into the point. Right? That's right, Willie. Willie said fighting for centuries. And we still fighting. We not even, yeah, exactly, political Lil. Says W.E.B. Du Bois has a great book on the subject of Reconstruction. You know, a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of our ancestors have great books. But the point I'm making is, the reason I wanted to just highlight these small little things is because some of the stuff that we're saying today, we acting like it's brand spanking new. We acting like our rights to vote started in the 60s. Well, how do you feel now, understanding that it started 100 years prior to 1965? How do you feel now, knowing that it started in 1866? How do you feel now? 100 years, we still in this fight? See, here's what I want y'all to understand. America never intended for us to be free. They never intended that small little change, we're going to first give the soldiers the right to enlist, strategic. It's military, is a chess move, is strategic, critical in thinking, right? Then we're going to just emancipate only a small number of the slaves. Not all 4 million of them, a small little number. The ones that's fighting the war, the one that's helping us to win. Thank you for that donation, James. The ones that's helping us to win. Then we're going to take a larger symbolic gesture, and we're going to so-called free the slaves. But we're going to hold a lot of things from them. We're going to free you, but you're not going to be able to afford to live because we're not going to rent to you. So you still got to stay on a plantation, and you're going to be sharecropping, and you're going to be working, but you're not going to be able to afford to live. So in essence, you're still enslaved, but legally you're free. At any time you get any inkling of you thinking you're better than us, we're going to change that too. We're going everything that we do, as soon as you show that you can do something to better your condition, to better your people, we're going to take that away. We're going to change that too, because you're really not free. So we walking around, we free, we're really not free. Then we want our rights to vote. 1840 something. They're arguing, fighting for their rights, their rights to vote. They're given that in 1866, and they still got the rug pulled from under them. Our ancestors is dumb. Rug swipe right from under them. 100 years later, we still fighting from that. So what's the point here? I sat back and I started to look at all these things that's happening, all these small little changes that has happened, and we are excited right now. So many of us in this community is excited by let's say George Floyd, and they're saying things like, "Oh, he's changed the scope of what's happening." Thank you for that donation, Scorpio. Shout out to our new member. Thank you for joining the channel. He's changed the scope of things. George Floyd. And many of us are not even conditioned to see things like this as symbolic. We're thinking that this is a real change in our history. We're thinking that this is going to be something really good for us. We're ignoring, and this is not a show that I'm going all through history, because I went through history. This would be a 3-4 hour show to give you the timelines of everything that has happened and how we're still fighting the same fight. I'm just trying to condense it. We're still fighting the same fight. Y'all got to stop being excited about these things. We are still fighting for freedom. We are still fighting for respect. That hasn't changed. Even with those small little shifts in the system that has thrown it out of whack. It went from having free labor to now having to pay our Black behinds to work, threw the system out of whack. But every time the system is thrown off balance, they find a way to bring it back on balance. And for some reason, some of us, we believe, this is how sick we are in our head. This is how sick we are in our head. Some of us, we believe that it has gotten better. And they know we're going to believe this thing, because they condition our minds. They condition the way we see things. All of this stuff is a strategy. And then we get relaxed, we calm down, and then something wakes us up again. And then we realize, oh no, the fight is not over. We got to pick back up. And so it seems like we're all being worn out, because at every generation, they're not even being passed the torch. They're picking up a new damn torch to fight the same race we've been running, to participate in the same battle we've been fighting. Every time the system switches and they see we get a little break. Once upon a time, we weren't allowed to read. We started reading, started to say, oh shit, well, we got to do X, Y, and Z, build ourselves up. They switch it. Now you can't come into this college. You can't go to this school. You ain't going to have no reasonable books. Take it all away. Right? We find a way around that. They switched the system again. Oh, so that shit didn't work. These little ninjas got smart. These little ninjas found a whole nother way. We're going to switch it again. It's like we cannot mentally heal. It's like we cannot keep up, because the system gets reset to the same system that was developed when we came here. It keeps getting reset, pushing us back. That's right. Somebody said roll back, right? It keeps rolling us right back into the same system. So let's look at the police stuff that's going on for just a second. We're going to look at the police stuff. The police have been hunting us down since we were fighting against being enslaved, as early as 1500s with the first rebellion on record. Fighting from us being enslaved, they've been hunting us down. Hunting us down. So many laws, so many acts have been implemented to return us to our masters, to return us to our position, to return us to the underclass. You think you're going to go to get free so you can have a reasonable life? No. We're going to find a way to return you. The police have been hunting us down before they came law enforcement as we know it today. We went from lynching to Emmett Till, to the Scottsboro Boys, to the Jenna Six, to the Central Park Five, to Trayvon Martin, to George Floyd. We have gone through it all. And that's not giving any disrespect to all the names I have not named. I'm just trying to bring it all into perspective to see how, even though we might be a new body, we weren't here in the 1800s. We might be a new body. So to our eyes, we think we're witnessing something different. But in fact, in all actuality, we are not. It is the same story, different century. It is the same story, different generation. You want to know another switch that happened? So you get this first so-called Black president. No disrespect, but you know, that's right. Don't forget the Chicago 7. Don't forget Move. Absolutely, family. You already know. And no disrespect for not calling out all the horrific things that have happened. There's so many horrific things that have happened in our community. And we called out every last one of them. This would be a broadcast that lasts for hours and hours and hours. And I just ain't got hours and hours and hours of time to do. But I think you guys get my point. Right? I think you guys get my point. So we're going to go to, thank you for that donation, Ife. We're going to go to the first so-called Black president. And I know some of y'all are going to get mad because y'all don't like that. Y'all like to just scope things in and, oh, he is Black. How they have shifted the narrative of what's Black, what is not Black. Anybody can be Black now. So no, but y'all can go ahead and y'all can believe what you want to believe because that's what they have sold you and you have gone for it. You have eaten it up. You believe it and you thought it brought about change, but it didn't, right? So you think it brought about change. So they shifted the system. They seen that we are still fighting. They can't stop us. They can't quiet us. They can't step on our heads. They can't wipe us out, right? They've tried everything in the book and we are still surviving. So they give us a so-called first Black president to lull our asses back to sleep. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Some of y'all got real comfortable. Didn't realize that small little change. They gave us one little Black president. That small little change brought about some major consequences. Major consequences, a shift. See, a lot of y'all believe, well, no, that was a good shift in the system because this is what some of y'all said when Barack was in presidency. Some of y'all said, we're a raceless society. What was his thing he used to say? Forward moving. What was it? Progress. What was the crap he used to say? Thank you for that donation, Lindell. What was his motto? His campaign? Forward, some shit. What was it? Y'all tell me. Tell me the way he lulled you back to sleep. Come on. Y'all know the name of it. I need y'all to tell me because I can't remember. It wasn't change. It was like forward or something like that. Progress or some crazy thing like that, right? But y'all get it. That's what he ran on. And it had all y'all believing that we was going to move toward a raceless society. And it was going to be better for us. It got worse. It got worse because I told you every time someone changes the system, it sets back. They let you know, that's not going to work. They go back in and they recalibrate. They set it back. They set the time machine back to 1619. That's the time that they like. They didn't like the 1500s because we weren't enslaved in 1500s per se, right? A lot of us was indentured. A lot of us was free, right? They like to set it back to 1619. That's the time they go in and they set it back. So we're thinking, because that's how they do it. They just lull us to sleep. We're thinking we're moving forward, whatever the crap. The change has happened. This is what it is. We got a Black president. They set it back. The clock went back. Set it back. Boom. 1619. And some of us were just so excited about seeing a black face, didn't realize what was happening. It didn't realize that it was another way to keep us at the very bottom. At the very bottom. Then you go on to this whole pipe dream of having a raceless America. Now everything starts to shift. People are transracial now. Anybody can be black. Anybody is black now. Am I making this stuff up? Y'all let me know. Let me know. Everybody is black now. Everybody gets to claim the civil rights cake now. I know y'all don't like the way this sounds, but it is what it is. Everybody gets a piece of the pie. Everybody gets to benefit. Everybody gets the American dream, so-called. But the people in 1619. So some people might come on and say, well, how can she say that? That's not true. She's black. Thank you for that donation. Right? Right? Thank you for that. And I see your comment. Some people might say, well, how can she say that? She's black. She's a doctor. She lives well. Her children has opportunities that a lot of other black children don't have. She's living the American dream. This is the okie doke. See, this is the symbolism. This is symbolism that they always do, right? The system knows how to let who in at what time for what reason. But yet, at the same time as they let you in, they also let you know that you're not part of them. What am I talking about? I know some of y'all not gonna get it. Let me help y'all out. A lot of y'all look at Dr. Shonna's title, Dr. Shonna's lifestyle, Dr. Shonna's whatever I share about my children, because I don't share much about what they are afforded, right? But y'all can get an idea. You know, I have a college grad on my head that's going into med school. Y'all already know this shit happens. Y'all know that. But what you don't know is all of this stuff is symbolic. So even as I'm fighting to get a doctorate, I'm faced with racism right in my program. I'm not afraid to say it. Rutgers University. I'm not afraid to say it. It's documented. It's documented. If any of my fellow colleagues are watching this, they can't deny it. They can't say I'm lying. It's documented. Faced with racism right there in my program. Out of 19 of us in the class, only 3 of us are black. And only 2 of us really, really look black, like me and somebody else. And out of the 2 of us that really, really look black, one says she's not black. I can't make this shit up. I can't make it up. But whatever, I love everybody. Everyone gets to identify however they want to identify. This person's not black. She told me she ain't black. Okay, whatever. But even in that program for it, so even though I made it out, it wasn't without scuffles. It wasn't without a fight. It wasn't without ridicule. It wasn't about let's form a little meeting around Shonna and criticize her work. Let's criticize her behavior. Let's criticize her language. Let's criticize her style. Even until a couple of years ago when they asked me to come in to teach. Let's still criticize. Let's still criticize. I come in to teach. You pay me to teach. A pretty penny too, to teach one day. A pretty penny. But you still criticize. Because they can't help it. They can't help it. So that's what I mean when I say it's symbolic. All of this stuff is symbolic. At the end of the day, when I walk out my door, I'm a Negro. Period. I'm a ninja. Period. I never think that they see me differently because I understand the engagement and the interaction. And I don't get upset about it. Maybe because of the compensatory code, right? And I'm so thankful that I've read that book. But unless you have a plan for me individually, unless you're going to tell me what you plan to do with me, I don't pay attention to all your nonsense. I keep pushing forward because I understand that anytime there's progress among our community, they will do stuff to try to reset us. Reset us. I witnessed that right in my doctorate program. When I was an employee, I witnessed that on the job. They find many different ways to reset us. And I know many of you guys have witnessed that, and you're still witnessing that. Resetting us. 1619. Oh, so this heifer thinks she moving in to our community. Reset. 1619. And they find a way to remind you of who you are, despite the fact that you had a so-called Black president. Despite that don't matter. That's all symbolic. Just like the Proclamation, Emancipation was symbolic. Just like the initial Civil Rights Act in the 1800s, symbolic. I know y'all don't like to think that the 1900s, 1965 Civil Rights Act was symbolic, but it was symbolic for our asses. Y'all don't believe so? Y'all don't believe so? It was symbolic for our asses. You know why I say it was symbolic for our asses? Because there's a new change that's happening, family. There's a new change that's happening. I want you guys to pay attention to the change. And I only gave you guys a small little snippet because, you know, we only got an hour show. I gave you a small little snippet. But let's go back to what is the new change that's happening. If you pay attention to what is happening in the media, I know y'all like cop killings, right? Y'all all paying attention to cop killings. Oh, did you see this, Dr. Shonna? Another person is shot. Ain't nothing new. That's like taking it back to my shero, Ida B. Wells. I imagine how she felt. Another person lynched. I imagine how she felt getting letters delivered to her, because there was no email back then, right? Getting letters delivered to her. Miss Wells, another person's been lynched in our town. She got to document that, get on a train, travel to that town, investigate. I can imagine what she felt. That's what we are feeling right now. But let me tell you what the new shift is happening. Somebody's saying reset of what? Is that like a real question? Are you late? Because I want to be able to answer your question, Domination. And I don't know if your question is sarcastic. I don't know if you really don't know. I don't know if you were late. But I want you to let me know if you being sarcastic, because we just had a whole goddamn episode about resetting. And we had a whole goddamn episode about change, and small little changes in the system causes larger changes. And every time they see that a larger change is happening, they reset us back. So I'm not sure, and I'm not trying to be funny, right? Some people are laughing. Tara laughing. Tara, I'm just, I want to make sure, right, that Domination is not coming here without being a critical thinker. I want to make sure she's late and she's just asking, because this is a critical thinking community, right? SC is saying, I'm thinking I'm lost. What's happening right now, right? SC, you want to know what's happening. So SC, why don't you tell me what you think is happening? Somebody's going to have to help them out. I can't help the people out. I can't help you out. You weren't able to follow the bouncing ball, because I'm about to finish the bouncing ball. So if you guys are like lost, I can't help you. Not at this game. Not an hour in. So SC is saying, I thought we were moving forward. How can we move forward, SC, when we're getting reset? And that's what the message is. I want you guys to realize we keep getting reset. And what I mean by that is, every time you move forward, we move forward collectively. Every time we move forward, we're being sent back to start. We're sent 3 stages back. We're losing 2 spaces. Think about like a board game. You know how you pick up a card and it says go back to home, or you pick up a card and it says you lose 3 turns. So that means people get to go ahead of you 3 times over, or they may tell you move back 10 spaces. Like, we're getting reset. We're getting reset. We're constantly moving back. No, SC, don't stop asking questions. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't get all emotional, because this is not an emotional class. Like, y'all already know how I get down, right? Don't get all the emotions. Say I'm going to stop asking questions. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't stop asking questions. But we do got to follow the bouncing ball. So what I'm saying to you guys is, I want you to know what the next reset is going to be. There you go. Somebody said it. Somebody said it. This is, I told you, we're a critical thinking community. This is what happens when you can follow it. When you can follow the bouncing ball. Savvy Me said it. The tables are turning. Listen to what is being said. Listen to what is happening right now. How are the tables turning against us right now? Do you understand what's happening? We are being made to be the culprit. We are the scapegoat. We are the new racists. Are y'all paying attention to what's happening? Are y'all paying attention to what's happening? Right? That's right, Dylan. Understand the big picture. When you have a joker like Tim Scott and Kamala Harris back him and be able to say that America is not a racist country, what kind of crazy sideswipe psychological game are they playing? And who's the person, who are the people who constantly gets hurt by this? Y'all got to understand the shift is happening. So the question is, see, this person in here, I don't know what this person is, don't think it's going to work. You'll see. This is not conspiracy. You'll see. You'll see what's going to happen. When you have a whole figures like Tim Scott and figures like Kamala Harris saying America is not racist, when you have 2 figures like that to publicly say that on television, what do you think that would do? What is the shift that's going to happen? Those are small little changes that I'm saying to you guys that you have to pay attention to, and you have to prepare for it. And that's where a lot of you guys are not critical thinkers. You're missing it. You're missing it. Everything starts small, and it has lasting, devastating effects. Everything starts small. Now, I want to put this out there. Like, the one thing that has been consistent in our community with our people, the one thing that has been consistent is that when we stand up and we fight, we are a voice for all. I think that's a mistake. I think that's a mistake. But let's follow it for a second. When we stand up and we voice our opinions, when we demand our justice, our respect, our freedom, we become a voice either intentionally or unintentionally for everybody. Right? Y'all all would agree with me, right? Everyone comes up when we speak. Let me know. But what's happening right now? Let's say, for example, let's talk about Asians for just a moment, and then I'm out of here. Let's talk about Asians for just a moment. Asians are not new to America. Asians have been a part of this country, not as long as us, but for a long time. And they've been under the radar. They've been under the radar. And not that they could not have when the same liberties and rights have been given to everybody that's come to this country, including them. They could have taken political stances. They could have ran for presidency and office. They could have done that stuff as well. But they took a back seat until now. Until now. And when I say now, I'm not talking about today, 2021. I'm talking about recently. In recent history, they have taken a backseat until recently. And so now when you're seeing these uprisings in terms of them getting together, them protesting, this is not something collectively that they have been doing for a long time. Little spurts, yeah. But I'm talking about to the point where they're now demanding significant changes in laws and policies. That has not been them on a macro level. Maybe small little instances, yes, it has happened. But on a macro level, that has not been the case. Now, they're fighting to change the history, and they rightfully should. I just want to point something out to you guys. They're fighting to change the history in the educational system. They want to be included in the history books, rightfully included in the history rules. They want for American children to be taught their contributions to America. Rightfully so, right? Rightfully so. Whereas we've been fighting for a long time to correct the false history on African Americans, and it has been falling on deaf ears. On deaf ears. So what I'm asking you guys is to sit back and see all that is happening right now and ask yourself to trace it all the way back to the beginning. What has led to that to happen? What has led for Asian people now to step up? Now they're the victims of hate crime. And I'm not saying that they aren't. I'm not saying that. I don't know how many of them are getting gunned down by the police. I don't know how many of them are not being able to purchase homes or open businesses. I don't know. I don't know the numbers. I'm not trying to be funny. Maybe you guys know the numbers. I don't want to make any assumptions. I know what I think in my head, but I don't want to make any assumptions. I want you guys to tell me how many of them get turned down for business loans, how many of them get turned down for mortgages, how many of them get turned down for housing, how many of them get mistreated in the school systems, how many of them are erroneously classified as special education in the school. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm asking you guys. I'm asking you guys. But all of a sudden, y'all better watch it. Their voice is coming out. I want to see if they get their needs met before we do. Right? I want to see if their needs get met before ours do. Because what's so unfortunate is some of us, we get it. We get exactly what's happening. Some of us, we're holding these jokers that look like us, that are in political positions, that's supposed to be making the changes for us. And anytime we bring up to them the changes that we want made, they're telling us that can't just happen for Black people. No matter what the changes, whether we're asking for reparations, whether we're asking for, it doesn't matter. Everything we come up with can't just happen for Black people. This can't get it to Black people. But there's a lot of individual groups that are coming up, making their specific quests, their specific requests for their people. And a lot of changes are happening specifically for their groups. But we can't get it. So when you say to me, what's the reset button? How is that not a reset button? How is that not taking us back to everything we have been fighting for? How is that not a reset button? And I'm not being funny. I'm asking a question. I'm asking. No one is telling me anything. I'm asking you guys to just pay attention. There you go. Look at what God created black. And you know what's so unfortunate is, like he says here, 2008 wiped out our wealth and home ownership. You know what's so unfortunate? People don't even have any idea what you're even talking about. That's what's unfortunate. Because to so many people in our community, they see it as, oh, it was a misfortune, a mishap. A misfortune, a mishap. Don't even understand how wealth was wiped from us in 1 year. They don't even understand it. Most of the people that's not into economics or politics won't even understand that. They don't even understand why that happened and how it got there. They wouldn't even understand the stats that shows the people who lost their wealth is us. They won't even understand it. So when I say at every time there's a turn, we get reset back. Reset back. And they know how to keep us reset. Boom, boom, boom. Reset back. And so many people don't even understand. I could go on and on and on with so many different. You want to know another thing? And then I'm out. I promise you I'm out. Here's another thing. Here's another reset button. My oldest son got his acceptance letters into college. I was so excited for him to get accepted into Howard University for mechanical engineering, HBCU. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. My daughter went to Ivy League. Great, good, not an HBCU. My son, he's like, I want to go to this school. He got several other offers as well. Everything mechanical engineering, right? Because if you don't go to STEM program, you don't get college paid for by me. That's my rule in my house. STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. That's it. I don't pay for anything else. Not STEAM, arts, out. STEM, because I know the game. I know the game that America's playing. I see it. I'm a part of it. I know exactly what's happening. Chess move, STEM. RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, comes in at that moment with the best financial aid package, right? And of course, I'm going to have to pay something, right? So far, I'm like saying, oh, I can cut that check, boom, for the year. Easy. We're in there. So we'll see what Howard offers. Nonetheless, let's just say this. Nonetheless, he ain't going to Howard. I'm heartbroken. He ain't going to Howard. Howard's package was appalling. And I can only imagine how many of the HBCU graduates, and I know some of y'all on this feed, and I want y'all to be honest for yourselves. How many HBCU graduates graduated in debt? My daughter graduated from Ivy League University. Zero debt. There are no loans on her head, no loans on my head for her education. Zero. That gives her a head start to wealth building. Do you understand what I'm saying? Head start, ahead of the game. The package from Howard was appalling. Now, some of y'all would say, well, that's because the endowments are low. Yeah, that's true. But let's think about why the endowments are low. Let's think about how endowments work. Let's think about who pours into endowments so that they can make sure the next generation is able to afford the education so that they can stay ahead of the game of everybody else making $15 to $20 an hour. Not trying to be funny, just telling the truth. Let's talk about that for a second. So if majority of the HBCU graduates are coming out in debt, right? Come on, y'all. I see some people saying that. I saw only one person said debt free. Everybody else is talking about debt, right? If endowments happen because people with wealth are able to pour into them, and if you're graduating from your alumni and you're graduating from your alma mater and you don't have money to pour back in because you're still paying off your debt, the next generation can't learn from you. They can't. So when we say the reset button gets hit back, even in our education, you should not be graduating with debt from college. Do you know what the debt of a Black student looks like in comparison to a white student? Do you know what that debt looks like? See, I'm not even going to get on this because if I get into these numbers, y'all going to be embarrassed. Y'all going to be hurt. Right? But I'm glad for you, Scorpio girl. My son doesn't pay. He goes to HBCU. You're going to have to show me that there's no loans on his head for me to believe that. Because we can get on here and say anything. You're going to have to show me that there is no direct loans. There's no student loans. There's no parent loans. You're going to have to show me that. You're going to have to show me that. You're going to have to show me your bill. Ask drshonna@gmail.com. And you can't be in military. Don't come on your GI Bill. You're going to have to show me you being a working mom or working parent. I'm assuming you're a female. And your child doesn't have any loans to have to take out. Right? Because a lot of people like to come on. I'm not saying that you're doing that. Right? A lot of people like to come on. And they like to say a lot of shit that ain't true. A lot of people come on, they say a lot of shit that ain't true. The point I'm making is, here's all these things that we're fighting for. And the smallest thing that the government could have done, the smallest thing, I mean, we're owed so much more, but I'm saying the smallest thing is to make sure we can go to an HBCU. You fucked us for hundreds of years. The littlest thing you can give us is an HBCU. Make sure we can go there and come out debt free. Because that's how we get ahead of the game. But will they do that? They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. My mother was dirt poor, and I graduated with college debt. Shout out to Sid. Thank you for that donation. Says HBCUs are overrun with anti-Black agenda right now. We already know. So what I'm basically saying to you guys is you got to pay attention to all this stuff. We're doing all this fighting. We're doing all this complaining. We're doing all that. We think we're getting somewhere. You got to look at economics. You got to look at how we're doing on the wealth scale of things as a whole, as a people. You got to look at education. You got to look at health. That will give you the measuring stick for how well we're doing as a community. But you better know that the people are starting to complain right now. The people who are standing up for their rights and they're getting protections, and you can't say anything about certain groups of people, because if you say anything about certain groups of people, your ass will lose your job. Your ass won't get promoted. You'll be blacklisted. So many things will happen to you, but you can say anything about us and nothing will happen to you. Reset. You can say anything for us and ain't nothing going to happen to you. Listen, family, I want you to understand that what's going on. I want you guys to understand that there's a shift, there's a change. I want you guys to pay attention to the effects that statement that America is not racist, that statement, what is going to happen in our community. I want you to pay attention to that. I want you to pay attention 5 to 10 years from now, what our debt looks like. I want you to pay attention 5 to 10 years from now, what our wealth looks like. Because you can't pay attention to propaganda, what you see in media. You know that a lot of us, we're making things happen. A lot of us are moving and shaking, but we cannot get in front of the goddamn ball, in front of the 8 ball. It's so hard to get there. And the few little props that they put in front of us that say, oh, this person can do it, you can do. You better stop paying attention to that shit. Because that's not accurate. It's not supported by data. It's not supported by the research. It's symbolic gestures that a lot of you guys get caught up in. A lot of you guys like symbolism because you look at the symbolism to say you're doing good. You look at the symbolism to say we're making it. If that person can make it, I can make it too. That is not true for our community. I want y'all to pay attention to the small little changes that's happening, that's causing bigger things to happen. That George Floyd situation, unfortunate for him, unfortunate for us. That George Floyd situation is not going to change it for us. I want y'all to know that. It's not going to change it for us. Y'all think it's going to change. Remember they said, oh, you know, once upon a time when all these things happening, oh, now our office is going to wear cameras so we can see what's going to happen. Got cameras, and it hasn't changed not one goddamn thing for us. Now it's just on television that is happening. I want you to pay attention to those small little changes. That's why I said the butterfly effect. Pay attention to those small little changes in the system and see who benefits from it. Because nothing is new that we're seeing right now. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. Pay attention to the small little changes that is occurring in the system and pay attention to who's benefiting from it. If we just go back to the Civil Rights Act of 1965, not the one of 1866, but the one of 1965, to who we are today, who benefited from it. Small little changes, who's benefiting from it. Now you have this new stuff that's coming up. Who's going to benefit from it? Who's going to benefit from it? I think it's been time for us to get on code. I think it's been time for us to get back to our cohesiveness, get back to our together movement, meaning making sure we support our community, making sure we educate our community, make sure we clothe, feed, shelter our community. We got to get back to that mindset, whether some of you guys like Marcus Garvey or not, but we got to get back to that mindset. This is not about, oh, he was a grifter. Okay, fine. That's fine. Talking about mindset. Talking about mindset. Mental health. We're talking about mindset. We got to get back to that mindset. That mindset was a threat. And even with that movement, we were reset. Right? We were reset. Even with that movement. They saw how to break it up. Boom! Reset it. Got us all the way back down. We got to get back to that mindset. We got to make sure our children are aware of that mindset. This is not a game that we're playing. We're going to see, this is the new civil rights. We've been saying that this is a new civil rights movement. It's a new civil rights movement that's happening. And if we're not strategic, if we're not organized, if we're not united, if we're not putting us first, that's the key right there. We have to put us first. If we are not putting us first as a community, you're going to see in the next 10, 15, 20 years who benefits from this movement that's happening right now. Ain't going to be us. Ain't going to be us. I'm just saying. Believe what you want to believe. But when this happens 15, 20 years from now, we don't get our shit together, you're going to remember what I said. It ain't going to be us. You're going to see everybody else who has come up after our asses was whooped, lynched, hanged, demeaned. After we done did it all, the next group of people going to come up. It ain't going to be us. Tell me, look at that Dr. Shonna YouTube husband. That must be from Manchu. That's my YouTube husband. Listen, family, I'm out of here. I love every last one of y'all. Go ahead and share the video. Smash that subscribe button on YouTube. Smash that follow and like button on Facebook. Share, 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 share. Hold my word to it. Heard my word to it. Thank you for that donation, Charlem. I'm telling you. So that statement from the VP, the people of color, Monica, and these small changes are changing our trajectory in ways our children will suffer more for. Absolutely. Y'all love to throw around that people of color. Y'all better stop doing that nonsense. Y'all better stop doing that nonsense. Those small little changes have major consequences. Butterfly effect. Those small little changes have major consequences. You would say, oh, we're people of color. We're all a group and everybody else winning but you. Y'all better learn to separate. I'm just saying, y'all better learn to be shit. All right, y'all family. Much love. I'll see you on Sunday.